Now that we have a basic understanding of conditional logic, let's actually create some conditionals, something we would call if statements, and use them to apply some behavior to a game object. Here we have a script, and in this script I have an update method and a public Boolean variable named isDead that currently has a value of false. What I'd like to do is use this Boolean variable isDead to determine if the game object is currently alive or dead within my game. If it's not dead, I'm not going to do anything, but if it is dead, I need to turn it off. This may seem like a complex decision, but it's actually very simple. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set up an if statement or conditional statement inside my update method. This if statement is going to create what's called branching logic. I'm going to have two ways the code can flow. Either the character is not dead and nothing happens, or the character is dead and this game object gets disabled. The syntax for an if statement conditional is very simple. You start with the keyword if. After the if keyword, you have two parentheses, followed by two brackets. You'll recall from a previous section that these two brackets denote or define a new block or a new scope that is within the update method. Inside the parentheses, directly after the if keyword, we put our conditional statement. In this case, we want to determine if the Boolean variable isDead is equal to true. Therefore, we can say if isDead double equal sign true. Remember, it's not the single equal sign. We are not assigning the value of true. We are testing to see if it is true. Now, inside these two brackets, we're going to write what we want to happen if the variable isDead is in fact true. If the Boolean variable isDead is true, we are going to call the setActive method, which is a part of this game object, and we are going to set it to false. This deactivates or turns off that game object. You will note that if isDead is not true, we don't do anything. We're simply going to allow the update to continue to run, always looking to see if this character has died. Now let's go over to Unity and see this work. In Unity, I have a scene with the Hellephant game object in it, and that game object has this conditional script we just created on it. If I hit play, I'll see that nothing happens. The elephant continues to sit there. If, however, I check this isDead Boolean in the inspector, we shall see that this game object gets disabled. We can tell that it's disabled because the checkbox in the upper left-hand corner of the inspector has become unchecked. Our conditional was checking for the variable isDead, and as soon as we changed it to true, the game object deactivated itself. Now, while this is a completely acceptable use of the if statement, it's generally written a little bit longer than it needs to be. When we're using things like Booleans and single lines of code in if statements, we don't need so much structure. This is a completely legitimate syntax, but let's look at how we can shorten it. We don't really need to say if isDead equals true, since it's a Boolean already, and if statements require a Boolean. We can simply say if isDead. This means if isDead equals true, but it's a short way of saying it. Also, since we only have a single line of code for this conditional, we don't need the brackets. You might often see if statements written in a shorthand version like this. Either way is completely fine, but we want to avoid any confusion if you see it one way and not the other.